Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we currently have two contracts. One for science data from space around the moon, which I think we can do just instantly. Let's hop over to a satellite that we should have orbiting the moon. Oh, we have some debris here. Yeah, let's keep things a bit clean and get rid of this. Okay, we've got a lot of debris here. A whole lot of debris. Why is there so many pieces of debris here? Okay, that's kind of wild. I'm going to do this, but I'll be right back. Okay, so they're all removed except for one, and I wanted to keep this one around because I actually want to fly this. I want to see what was going on with this, because there should have only been 4 components in that orbit. So they must have shattered? Oh yeah. That's what happened. So that's good to know. We're going to go back to the Space Center. We now have all of the information we need for that. So that had a periapsis in the atmosphere. So that means that the fuel tanks that all of those bits were previously attached to exploded in the atmosphere. So it essentially shattered without actually burning up all the pieces. That's fine. That's actually kind of cool. So we're going to get rid of this last one here. There we go. And next up, what we need to do is we need to go to... We have a survey satellite orbiting the moon here. We also have this dual ComSat relay. I think these have a thermometer on them for this exact purpose. I usually put a thermometer on ComSats for being able to harvest this type of contract. So let's see if we remembered to do that here. Yes, perfect. So we're going to log that temperature, and we're going to transmit that back, and there we go. Contract complete. We're not going to get any real science out of it, but we at least get a little bit of money for free. So that's absolutely wonderful, and with that contract done, I want to check to see what other contracts are available, but we're probably going to have to do that Eve landing, and I want to do a quick test here. We're going to be reverting it, but I want to just place something on Eve to see if we need to both splash down and make ground contact, like land contact, for the contract to actually work. Because if that's the case, then that's going to be interesting. Science data from the surface of the moon. I mean, that's pretty easy to do too. I don't think we have anything there that's ready to do it instantly, although we could set something up for that. Science data from surface of Minmus, same story there. That'd be very easy to do, but right now I don't think that's what we want to do. This is from Eve. We're absolutely not doing this. This is not easy to do, by the way. Landing on Eve and then taking back off and coming back to Kerbal is a whole ordeal. We're not going to do this. This is not worth. That's for sure. A new orbital station around Gilly. Again, that's in the Eve area. I want to be heading out towards Duna. So I think for the moment, all we need to do is we need to get this done and hope that our contracts stop obsessing with Eve. So what I want to do is I want to just put together not even anything in particular. Right now, all I want to do is I want to put in like a Probodobodyne Octo 2. This will be fine. So we're just going to launch this. This is not going to go anywhere, obviously. And we're going to put this over the surface of Eve, and we're just going to let it come on down to the surface. So we're just going to ease it down, and I want to see if we get contract completion from just a splashdown. So we're going to put this on the pad, and of course this is going to be reverted. I'm just a little unclear based on the text here with make ground contact on Eve and splash down, if splashing down would count as ground contact. That's the question. So we need to solve that before we really design this. So let's set position on Eve. The question is this over water? And yeah, ease to ground is fine. Okay, so this might blow up when it hits the ground. We'll see. And this is definitely not water. So that counts as... The game froze. No, it didn't. We're just holding this position. What? Okay. I have questions about that physics, but sure. So that apparently counts as ground contact. Fair enough. But I want to revert this back. And actually, let's think here. It's very hard to see on Eve. This is a problem with trying to do landings on Eve, is it's just very, very hard to see. So if we were to go, say, we need to just figure out a longitude here. Let's try 90 degrees. This is over land. Okay. So we just need to find a different position. Let's try negative 90. Okay, this is also over land. Although it's right on the boundary. I think. It's on a boundary. Once again, very questionable physics there. But sure. Let's try negative 45. This keeps being right on the seams for the terrain, but it also keeps being on land. So this is definitely... And it blew up. Okay. I'm not surprised that it was going to blow up at some point. We're going to have to revert this back to launch probably numerous times. I'm honestly surprised it survived this long. But we just need to find some water. And once we know the position of water, well, not water, but explodium. Once we know the position of the explodium, then we can revert it back. And in fact, we should probably, for the moment, turn on no crash damage. There we go. That should prevent that. So let's try Eve at 45 this time. Any moment now. Okay, here we go. That's actually perfect. So that gets us splashdown. That does not get us ground contact. Okay. So, what that means is we need a boat. We need a boat that sits in the explodium. It comes down in explodium. And then it sails to the shore to make ground contact. That's what that means. So we need to revert this back. And we need to make a boat. So how do we want to do that? Well, we could make it be like prop driven. I think we have propellers, right? That's a thing. We have helicopter blades and propeller blades. Yeah. So these are pretty big. That's definitely a thing. So, okay, fan shrouds. Yeah. My question is, do we just put these on electric motors? That's probably a doable thing. So if we were to do something like this, right? And the boat would land like this. So this is a fan shroud. I don't even know what that does. Is that purely aesthetic? Okay. So this is a ducted fan blade. I'm just wondering about the size here. Sure. So that seems okay. Now we're going to want a robotic part. And this is a light duty rotor here. So that's probably approximately what we want. I'm not sure which way we want to mount this. We'll figure that out. I kind of feel like it goes this way, but I don't know. I'm not sure how this rotates. That doesn't want to attach like that, so I guess we do it like this. Let's see here. So the RPM limit is 460, but the question is, if we were to mount this, the attachment points are here. But what we could do is we could do something like a cubic octagonal strut, like this. And then mount these fan blades to be not like that. Mount the fan blades to be something like approximately that, but not really at all. Yeah, that doesn't really do what I want it to do at all. Okay, so we really want a smaller hub than this, I feel like. But we could give it a go and see what it does. So right now I'm going to call this the Eve boat. Okay. And we're going to put this out on the pad. Now this might explode immediately upon putting it on the pad. We do have no crash damage on, so hopefully that will prevent it, but you never quite can tell. And we're going to turn on infinite electricity as well. We don't have an electrical source yet. We'll get there. And I'm concerned about the way it's going to want to sit. It's almost certainly going to want to tip down on the rotor. So that's a little bit of a concern as well. But the question is, does this even work at all, right? So for right now, we want to place this over on Eve, and I believe we determined that 45 degrees was an acceptable longitude. So we'll put that there for now. Okay, yeah. This is absolutely an acceptable longitude. Surprisingly, it holds relatively stable. Okay, so the current RPM here is 0, and the motor is set to engaged. I'm wondering if that's tied to the throttle. So let's turn on infinite electricity for now, because we're going to need it. And then we're going to throttle this up. Oh, we need to clear the input blocker. Yeah, that would do it. Okay, so we're throttled up at this point. This is not currently functional. Okay, so the question is, how do we tie this into our throttle? Well, we're physics easing right now, actually. So let's actually come back in here. That's probably the issue, is that our physics easing is still on. So let's not ease to ground. And this is way too high. There we go. That's a little better. Now we're not physics easing anymore. Okay, so now we're throttled up, and this does not appear to have any sort of a activation here. Okay, I've never used one of these rotors before. I'll be honest. I don't know how they work. Apparently not like this. Ah. Okay, so we can see that it's mostly turning our probidobidine, but it is turning our propeller a little bit. The real question now is, if we were in a decent orientation here, which we're in the orientation that I expected right now with the weight pulling us down, if we're in a decent orientation here, how would that end up going? So what I want to do right now is I want to bring this out over this direction, and I'm still not sure which of these is actually the side that's spinning, but I want to put in something like... Let's see, I'm just thinking about how we would go about doing this. Like a K&K flatbed would be a little big. We could use grip pads, but that seems a little much as well. I'm thinking right now that we would just go for... Where are they? I think they're under... I thought they were under structural. I'm looking for the panels here. That's a ground base. That's probably not what we're looking for. Let's just search for a panel. We may not have them unlocked. Okay. Well, we could go for maybe, like, rover pod here. That's kind of an interesting shape. How do we want to shape this thing? Boats are exciting, so there's definitely that. We could just put batteries here for now. So this would end up being like 1K? That's a little big. 200? Yeah, that's about right. So a pair of batteries like that, and then if we look at the overall center of mass, well, we're definitely going to want to have like a... We're going to want to have like a reaction wheel here. Although I'm not sure that a reaction wheel, even a large one, I'm not sure that this small inline stabilizer will be capable of dealing with the situation, shall we say, on Eve. It's a lot of gravity, for sure. And I'm also thinking about making this blunter. So essentially that would be like a roundified fuel tank, but we don't carry any fuel in it. So that would be like, that's way too big. These are all way too large. So maybe just a nose cone? Even that's too big. Although that's kind of hilarious. But no, it'd need to be something like this. So, sure. Kind of looks like a missile now. We're kind of building a torpedo, to be honest. This is a torpedo. That's fine. I'm absolutely A-okay with it being a torpedo. To that end, we could really dial in the torpedo by making this a little bit longer And we could add like some very small fins up here as control surfaces. Probably not a terrible idea. So we would definitely want to have not just like basic fins. I would like it to be relatively small. All of these are big. Let's just search for control surface. And what do we get for small ones? So the standard canard, that's very large, right? We're looking for teeny tiny control surfaces, and we don't appear to have any. So we could just go with these winglets, but they're kind of huge for what we're building. Like, absolutely enormous and wildly overkill. It's an interesting thought. We could just go with the basic fin. So that's this guy. Even that is pretty big. But we could definitely put that on something like this. Although that's a little off kilter. Let's put it about there. Okay, so we've got that now. I have no idea how this is going to go. This is not really so much a boat as a torpedo now, but to be honest, torpedo works just fine. So we're going to put this out on the pad. And now we're going to put this back on Eve. I want to see how we float at this point. That's going to be a big question. And how we're going to get this to Eve is going to be another question. It shouldn't be that hard to get it to Eve, but getting it to land specifically in a body of water and then having that float correctly and then getting it to shore from there. That would be the challenge here. So we're going to have to lengthen this body almost certainly, but the question is, how do we sit right now? So 45 degrees, don't ease to ground, and sure, 6 meters above the water surface should be fine. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to put it into kill rot. And we need to clear the input blocker. Okay. So I just want to have this hold right about here. And it's actually able to hold, but we have to run the reaction wheel pretty hard. That is understood. And it doesn't like to sit right there. But I want to, at this point, turn up the torque here. And you can see the counter force here is spinning our craft more than it's spinning the propeller. So this is telling me that I think we have this motor on backwards. Well, let's do this, and yeah, this is definitely not the way I want this to go. It is funny, though. There's no doubt about it. It is funny. Okay, let's just see about yawing our way out over this way, right? So this is very controllable, with the exception of this motor being a little much. So the torque limit, if we just do this, and I don't think that the blades are set up correctly. I think we need to angle them differently. Yeah, we definitely do. We need to rotate them. So that's fine. We can definitely do that. But my question right now is, can we get a smaller hub here? Let's pull this back. That's a really good sign for our torpedo torpedoing. And of course, we're also going to need some form of generation of power on here, right? So that's definitely something to think about. But these fan blades right now, they really, really do need to be switched. So specifically, we need to have them be rotated in one of these directions, like this, I think. But I'd like to have a much smaller hub here for it. So let's go into robotics, a turbo shaft engine. That actually looks more like what we're looking for, but these are way too big. So we've got this light duty rotor, right, or actually we've got this light duty rotor right now. Okay. So that's the attachment head there. I'm going to detach this guy. We're going to put this in here. That's definitely smaller, so we'd like to have this be pushed out a little bit further. We can have an extra pair of battery banks here to be able to run it longer. And then I'd like to just directly attach the fan blades. Oh my. That's awkward. I'd like to directly attach the fan blades to this shaft, ideally. So this is in 4x symmetry here, but it's actually going down to 2x when we go into this part. Ah, there we go. Okay, so that looks good, and then we need to get it correctly rotated, which could be exciting. Rotations are always fun. Okay, let's put it in like that, and then with that done, we can just rotate it to be something like this. Cool. So that seems fine for now. And the question is this still going to spin this entire assembly up here? It should hopefully just spin this at this moment and provide us some thrust. Okay, so let's put this out on the pad. And of course, delivery of this thing, the main challenge for delivery here is going to be the fact that we're going to have to deliver it in a kind of horizontal orientation, which is fine. We can definitely do that. It's pretty small, right? So it shouldn't be that challenging to actually do. So one thing I want to check here is if we were to turn up this torque limit. Okay. So we can see that that's definitely having an effect, but it's pushing us on the ground, I think. I think that's touching the ground. Let's go ahead and take this on over to Eve, and let's see how it works at this point. Okay. Now we're in the water. Excellent. And I'm going to put our SAS on kill rot, clear the input blocker because we're going to need to have like a communication satellite in orbit for this or something. That's going to be interesting. There's land out over this direction, so I want to just point us over that way. And this thing really wants to settle here, but I want to see what happens. Okay. So that's noted. We're applying a lot of torque here instead of here. So I'm wondering if we need to flip this, but it doesn't make a lot of sense if we flip it. What direction are we traveling in right now? I have no idea. We're traveling in a direction for sure. I think. But I don't think we're going this way. So if we have our RPM limit very, very low like this, that's all well and good. But you can see that this is not really sitting in the water. So I think if we were to lower this, that would be good. No doubt about that. But our main issue is that spinning this has the counter effect of spinning this. So we need some way to counter that. For sure. Question is, how do we want to go about doing it? Also, is this pushing or pulling us? Let's try bringing us to horizontal velocity up right now. Interesting. Very interesting. The other thing we could do is we could try to fly over there instead of trying to swim, essentially. But I'm not sure if we want to do that either. So what we obviously need to do is we need some sort of a counter mass here to prevent this backspin from occurring. So we need to pull this back, and we need to think about how to go about preventing that, right? So in the robotics parts, I want to see here. So this is a robotic servo rotor. We can change the size of motor, of course. So that's absolutely noted. I want to think about, actually, if we put this in space. We have no resistance whatsoever. Let's put it in vacuum. And let's see how it rotates with SAS on in space. We know that it rolls the entire body in water, but I'm interested in knowing if it does it in space as well. This is kind of like we're running into some Newton law issues here, right? And that's absolutely understood. But let's just put ourselves into a random orbit here. And of course, everything we're doing right now is fully simulated. We're putting this into a random orbit, and we're just cranking up this torque limit. Okay. So this is with our SAS off. This is with our SAS on. So it slows us down at times and doesn't at others. It's actually fully capable of holding. Let's try with the in-game SAS. That actually works far better than the smart ASS kill rot. That actually holds us in position. Okay. I did not intend to take a screenshot. That actually holds us in position. Let's set our position on Eve at 45 degrees. This is way too high. Altitude of 5. Thanks. Okay, so down we go. We're now in the water. And this is with the SAS on in atmosphere. So that is definitely noted. This is with the SAS off and the SAS on. It does not appear to be making any difference whatsoever in atmosphere. Okay, let's pull this back. Another thing we could think about doing is putting elevons on these basic fins, which I'm actually kind of interested in doing. And let's see here. Do we have any of an appropriate size? So we need like very small elevons, right? These are way too big. Yeah, all of those are absolutely enormous. So that's not going to be an option. We could just stack on 1,000,000 inline reaction wheels. That is something we can do. So we could just overload the reaction wheels and do something like that, which would also allow us to move these fins up on the body here to be about here or so. Okay, let's see how that sits in the water at least. Well, with the reaction wheels, we should be more than capable of angling it the way we want it to go. That shouldn't be a problem. The reaction wheels are going to be very, very powerful. Are they powerful enough to counteract the rotor? That's the question. Because we need to definitely counteract the rotor. Okay, so let's get this thing out to Eve, 45 degrees, set position, looks good. And we'll just get it down to the water. Excellent. It's actually sitting at a pretty decent balance, all things considered. But this rotor is kind of sticking out of the water. Let's turn up the torque limit on it and turn the SAS on. This is not quite enough to counteract. Okay. So that's noted. Let's clear the input blocker, and wow, that thing is snappy in rotation. Okay, let's angle ourselves over towards land. Yeah, this is not quite enough. Interesting. That is a lot of torque force going onto our main body here. That surprises me just how much torque force is on this. Also, this appears to be inverted. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's definitely inverted. So this isn't spinning all that quickly, and it is absolutely providing a lot of torque to this. which is not ideal. That means it's not providing us our forward force, right? So that is definitely not great there. So I want to put this in kill rot right now. Let's see how ASS is doing here. This is actually capable of holding it. Mostly. But I have to manually intervene. Huh. That's interesting. So this is not quite capable enough, and this is very loud. So I'm wondering what would happen if we had this be fully submerged. More like this. I mean, that's a very doable thing, too. You can see we're not picking up hardly any surface speed at this moment, and I think that this is just due to our propeller not being put together correctly. But it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're going to work on our propeller here a bit. We may want to increase the number of blades on it, or even the size of blades. That may be something that is doable. So these are much larger blades, and if we were to do that, hypothetically, I'm just wondering here. If we were to do this, let's do 4 here. Actually, it just did 2, but I want 4, ideally. So we'll do 4 like this. Much, much larger blades. These are kind of hilariously large. So that's, maybe that's too large. Let's go with maybe these. But as I was saying, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we're going to experiment with our propeller system here and getting this working a little bit better. I suspect I'm building this wrong. I've never built a prop craft in KSP before. This is probably going about it very, very wrong right now. And we'll see what we can maybe find to change there. I would like to use one of these turboshaft engines, but it also intakes air, so there's that. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Aurelio, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time. I just added 2 more reaction wheels. I'm sure it'll be fine.